1.
Do you ever dream of travelling to faraway places in every corner of the globe? Do you want to get to know how people live in different countries and try their national dishes? Well, now you too can become world tourists by coming on one of our many tours, which are both economical and affordable. You don't have to spend a fortune to enjoy our excellent hotels and excursions to places of historical interest and unrivalled beauty. So phone us today on 01210 212 5983 and one of our travel agents will help you choose the trip of a lifetime.
2.
And our last guest is someone who is very much in the news at the moment. With a controversy over the export of live animals to the continent, every farmer in the country wants to speak to him. He has one of the most difficult jobs in the government as Secretary of State for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs. Since he took office, he has dealt with all agricultural matters ranging from problems in the fishing industry to British farmers with concerns over falling prices for food products. Now you have the chance to put your questions to him. He is, of course, the Right Honourable George Grosvenor.
3.
Now I want to film the third episode, when the announcer is found murdered just before his morning radio show.
Hold on. I've got to set up the microphones before we can start filming.
Hurry up! We've got to finish by tonight. Channel 9 wants to use the studio tomorrow for that quiz programme about Hollywood film stars.
OK, I am hurrying. I've got a commercial later, so I want to get finished too.
4.
Good morning. And what can I do for you today?
Hello, Doctor. Well, I can't actually say what the matter is. I just feel exhausted all the time.
When did you first feel like this?
I suppose I felt quite like this last time I came to see you, after I had hurt my back, and I was off work for ages. I was really depressed because I was in such pain.
But that cleared up quite a while ago. Is there a reason why you're suffering from fatigue?
Well, I do get stressed at work, which leaves me worn out. All I want to do is go home and sleep.
5.
A pensioner has been given 625 years to pay off her rent arrears. Judge Sampson Westmoreland said that grandmother of 3, Ellen Turner of Lapworth in Warwickshire, could repay the £3,264 she owes Solihull Borough Council at 15 pence per week. The decision has been criticised by local councillors. Mrs. Turner later spoke to reporters.
I got sick and tired of paying rent year after year when other people get their rents paid for them because they are getting benefits from the government. I'm only a pensioner and they get more money than me. My pension is only £58 a week.
6. I love children of all ages. One day I'd like children of my own, and I think I'd be a good father. I really enjoy learning things, and I like passing on my knowledge to other people. My own student days were the happiest of my life, and helping to educate the students in my school makes me happy now. Yes, I think mine is the best profession in the world. I'm not well paid, but we do have long summer holidays. 7.
A theatre in Chesterville had to cancel a matinee of the children's show Cinderella because the fairy godmother didn't turn up. Ellie Angelo, 61, who used to introduce the popular children's TV show Lumberjack, was visiting her mother when she should have been on stage in the Mermaid Theatre. A full house of 400 went home disappointed. Theatre manager John Carlyle said that Ellie Angelo had simply forgotten about a change in dates for afternoon performances. The theatre plans to have an extra matinee for all the children who missed this performance.
8.
Hello? Is that Dawson Construction? I've been trying to contact you all day, but the secretary said you were out on another job. That's why I want to speak to you. You were supposed to be working on my house today. Fine. I can see that fixing a wall that's collapsing is an emergency, but why didn't you let me know? No, sorry, that's not good enough. You agreed to do my kitchen this week, not next week. I'm having a family celebration next week, so I need the kitchen to be finished by then. I'm afraid you're wrong. I told your secretary to arrange for the work to be done today. I expect you to come tomorrow to do the work. If you don't, then I'll have no choice but to call my lawyer to sort it out.
Now turn to part 2.
This account of the life of Natalie Hardcastle begins with Natalie and her 3 young sons left alone on an isolated Australian ranch. Their house is a wooden hut with a hole in the roof. There is no running water or electricity, and there are no neighbours for 100 miles in any direction. More importantly, there is no husband to support the family. This is the low point in Natalie's fortunes, and the real story of the biography lies in how she and her sons come to terms with the disaster which life and her husband deal out to them. At intervals throughout the book, we're told how she came to be in this position. We learn of her childhood and youth in 1950 Sydney, about her dreams of Olympic fame, and about the riding accident which crushed her ankle and with it all her hopes of sporting achievement. We learn too of her meeting with Tony Hardcastle, a wealthy businessman and racing driver. He sweeps her off her feet and into marriage. Only then do we learn, as she learns, of the flaws in his character, with the risky business ventures he favours, which lead to financial disaster and cause her to be stranded, penniless, in the Australian outback. Tony leaves her to restart his racing career in Europe, which isn't a success. He returns to Australia, but not to Natalie. At this point, Natalie decides to try to keep the family together and start her own business venture. She sets up a travelling clothes shop and beauty parlour in a van. She converts an old delivery van and buys clothes from Sydney. Travelling at the weekends with her children sleeping in the back, she visits small outback towns where the women greet her enthusiastically. They've never had these luxuries before. At last, Natalie begins to make some money, but then disaster strikes. Tony comes back and forbids her to continue her business. Soon the money she's saved is gone and her financial problems return. Ordinary mortals might have given up at this stage, but not Natalie Hardcastle. Of course, there are moments when she feels depressed or when she lies awake at night worrying about how she's going to pay the bills. But she's a fighter who refuses to give in to misfortune. Enough drama for one life, you might think, but fate and Tony Hardcastle haven't finished with her yet. Financial disaster hasn't dimmed her husband's taste for losing money. His sudden, but one suspects richly deserved death in a barroom fight uncovers huge debts, and relatives keen to take every penny from his estate, even if it leaves his family starving. Hard work, along with good luck and a surprise win in the state lottery, gives her time to keep the creditors at bay until she can afford to pay them off. It's a remarkable story, and one that made me look at my own duller but far safer husband in an altogether more positive light.
Now turn to part 3. Speaker 1.
Well, I had nothing to do with it, really. I only happened to be in the square because I was doing the weekly shopping. Anyway, all of a sudden, lots of policemen arrived and started closing off the streets and redirecting the traffic. And then a huge mass of people filled the street, chanting slogans and waving banners. Of course, I've seen a lot of the same kind of thing on the telly, but seeing it close up was a new experience for me. I must admit, I wanted to see how it all would turn out. And I'd done all my shopping, so I hung around for a while.
Speaker 2.
I'm pretty new on the job, and I was expecting some action. Not a bit of it. The demonstrators gave us no trouble at all. It was the motorists who were the problem, sitting there arguing with us when they can see a great wall of people in front of them. What could we do? Force them to move and risk trouble? You'd think the motorists would have more sense. But as far as the crowd goes, I was amazed by their self-control. Not a single arrest, no trouble at all. It all went off peacefully.
Speaker 3.
Just my luck. A huge demonstration closing the streets and a policeman telling me to turn left and go round another way. And I was running late as well. I've only just moved to London, so I don't know my way around yet. But would the policeman help out? Ha! I mean, it's bad enough to have all your plans changed, but when someone won't take the time to show you the right way, you've every right to get annoyed. It's not surprising people complain about paying taxes when public servants do anything but give the service we deserve.
Speaker 4.
On the whole, I think it went very well. Everything went according to plan. I told everyone while we were organising it, as long as the fanatics didn't turn up, things would go without a hitch. No arrests, no reported injuries, just a nice day out for all concerned, really. Whether or not anybody listens to us and does something about the situation remains to be seen, but I'm optimistic.
Speaker 5.
It was all they talked about in the pub for weeks. Everyone making comments about strikes and demonstrations and going on about people getting arrested and injured and all that. I was expecting to come back looking like a war casualty, and I almost did. I did get hurt, a large bruise and a few small cuts, but not in the way people think, not in the demonstration itself. Who believes you when you say that you walked into a lamppost while someone else was talking to you? I'll never be able to show my face in the pub again. I feel such an idiot.
Now turn to part 4.
Tonight on News Today, I'm speaking to Kay Giles, who is in charge of the organisation Energy Save, and she's just launched a campaign to educate schoolchildren on the importance of protecting the environment. Can you tell us what you intend to do, Kay?
Well, Charles, we at Energy Save believe that the only way we can ensure the survival of the planet is to make sure the next generation are active environmentalists.
And how are you going to do that?
Actually, we've already started by organising a series of seminars to help teachers prepare their pupils for the future. By making the environment an exciting subject, teachers can get their pupils' attention.
How exactly do they do this?
Well, we've given them information packs with examples of projects they can organise, taking the pupils out of the classroom and showing them what harm is being done to their areas by pollution from factories and big businesses. We also suggest that the pupils conduct surveys with their families to find out how green they are. In that way, the whole family can become involved in conservation. It'll be more successful if all the families support the campaign to save the planet.
So doing practical work is better than reading articles or looking at films and documentaries on the environment?
A combination of the two. There are some excellent videos available about the environment, and this can give children a taste of the subject. But in my opinion, the problem only hits home when you can see it in front of you.
Are there things the children can be encouraged to do in their own homes?
Recycling is a great way to start. All you need to do is to have separate containers and keep one for glass, one for paper and one for plastic. If families get into the habit of putting their waste in them separately rather than into the dustbin where everything is mixed up, then these things can be recycled.
But what do families do when the boxes are full?
Our charity has a regular pickup of recyclable goods, and some local councils offer the same service.
This brings me on to the government. What should they be doing about this problem?
Don't get me started about the government. To be fair, yes, they are starting to take environmental problems more seriously, but they could do so much more. You often hear politicians talking about green issues, but I always feel it's just to get votes. They know lots of people believe that this is the most serious problem facing the world today.
So, is there anything you'd like to say to our listeners, especially any youngster who has tuned in to us today?
Yes. Come on, kids. Don't wait for an environmental disaster to happen. Start working for a better future today. Recycle, don't waste energy in your homes, and make sure your parents and grandparents understand that they have to do their part in conserving our planet. One day you'll be a grandparent yourself, and I'm sure you'll want to pass on a world which is green.
Thanks, Kay, and good luck.